We have been speaking about reason and emotions or feelings. We have mentioned the fact too that these two, reason and emotions, were given to us by God precisely to lead us to the knowledge of Him. We have repeated often enough in the past that reason by itself is even more than sufficient to bring us to the knowledge of God. But however, the history of man had shown that he had never found God with his reason and his emotions. In fact, the history of man is nothing but proof that man went astray using his reason and emotions. Instead of bringing him to God, it has taken him away from God. And so we ask the reason, how did this precisely happen? It is because for reason, natural reason, to reach the concept of one God has become impossible because of the fallen nature of man. And often enough, when his emotions are too strong, his emotions had overwhelmed reason and therefore has brought him further away from God. Now let us see how reason and emotion functions in a natural person. Let us take one doctrine of Christianity, and this is the second coming of Christ. Now, ordinarily speaking, when a person looks at this doctrine on the second coming of Christ, or its substitute, which is death, his reasoning goes this way: that Christ had said he was coming soon 2,000 years ago, and nothing has happened. Christ himself had given signs that the end is coming. The signs were even more present at the year 1000 than now, and still Christ had tarried. He has not come. And things today even looks better than previously, to the point that almost all the signs of the second coming are gone. Looking at these things, reason would tend to say, he is not coming after all. And it is possible for reason to convince our feeling and emotions that he is not coming at all. Here, therefore, is an example where reason and emotions go hand in hand. They agree with one another. But usually, it is a fact that reason and emotions always go their own way. You will seldom find reason and emotion agreeing with one another. And so it is possible for the reason to say, the second coming is still very far. But the feeling can say, my gosh, it is approaching. And it can also be the other way, that one who loves to live his life in the world would say, I think the second coming is so far because he is enjoying life, but his reason looks at the signs around and finds that it is approaching. So what are we supposed to do, considering the fact that oftentimes reason and emotions go against one another? Isn't this the main cause of confusion in a person? Well, Christ precisely came to earth to teach us how to put man in the right path. How? By controlling the reasoning and the emotions? No. But by going over emotions and one's reason. However, between reason and emotion, sometimes emotion tend to overcome reason. Reason is always open when emotions have a suggestion. But the moment emotions give her suggestion, reason is unable to avoid accepting such suggestions. Sometimes emotion places thoughts in our minds, in the reason, and oftentimes we say, it seems we cannot get this thing out of our mind, meaning to say emotions will always insist on governing our reason, and reason is unable to reject it. And so God gave us the formula, the words that the fathers of the church says, that you should put your reason and your emotions subject to divine revelation. But how can you subject your reason and your emotions to divine revelations if you do not know divine revelation? Because the divine revelation says this, God Himself speaking, whatever reason tells you, you must always follow what I say and not what reason says. And whatever divine revelation says, you must do it and not follow what your emotions say. And so if reason says, oh, the signs of the second coming are not near, so do not expect it. What does divine revelation say? God says it can come anytime. It can come soon. So even if reason says, don't expect it, there are no signs, divine revelation says, expect it. And so the same thing with feelings or emotions. If you feel that the end is not coming, or if you feel that you are not dying, divine revelation says death can come anytime. And therefore, whatever feelings or emotions tell you, you must expect that it comes anytime. Let us take a very concrete example. Let us say that your neighbor has just been entered to by thieves. They were held hostage and things were stolen there. And of course, the entire community is worried and afraid that it can happen to you. It can happen to you. Now, the point is, even if reason tells you, no, it can't happen, the probability is that that thief enters our house is far-flung. But the emotions continue to be fearful and worried. And so you see, here is an example where emotions is telling you something, but reason is contradicting it. Reason is telling you something, but your feelings are telling you otherwise. So the general rule that we are given by which we can subject our reason and emotions to divine revelation is this: believe God and not your reason. Believe God and not your feelings. But you have to make sure that it is God who is talking to you, that it is the words of God that is being revealed to you. And secondly, you have to make sure that you got God's Word right. Now let us look at faith. Faith is believing and accepting what is unseen. And so if reason sees it, there is no faith. If emotions also realize it, there is no faith, precisely because emotions are lower than reason. If, for instance, there is just a slim chance that the Bible is right, slim chance, a very slim chance, and for most people we really think that the Bible is right with only a small probability, faith will demand that we still believe in God, that we will still believe in hell, and we must still give up all things and the world in order to go to heaven. That is what you call faith, because there is only a slim chance you still believe, though you do not see the rest. And the point and the wisdom of the matter is this. What if you say, the Bible is probably wrong? If you were right, you lose nothing. But what if the Bible is right? You lose everything. Faith is precisely this. Even if there is only a slim probability that divine revelation is from God, we would still give up the world and go home and sell all our things and live in poverty. We would still do that simply because divine revelation have told us. Faith means believing divine revelation, not because reason confirms what divine revelation have said, not because our feelings had confirmed that divine revelation is true. Faith is believing in divine revelation because God said so, and that is enough for our faith. God bless you.